Slumbering lion. When she awakes, all vileness and wickedness shall be destroyed. After the aftermath at the research facility is dealt with, Igla calmly steps into the laboratory where Alba is confined. Her footsteps strike the marble floor with precise rhythmic clicks, each step carrying an undeniable authority yet landing with the lightness of a ballet dancer's pointe. Chiloveig is still wearing nothing but a loose white lab coat. She sits barefoot on a swivel chair and spinning happily, a cup of coffee in her hands nearly drowned in syrup. Her smile is dazzling to the point of being unnatural, while cunning and madness glint in her eyes. She lazily swings her legs, the faint curves of her body beneath the lab coat forming a stark contrast with the laboratory's solemn atmosphere. Igla inclines her head slightly, then suddenly lashes out with a kick, sending a marionette doll nearby flying straight into the wall with brutal speed. The metal wall cracks open on impact, leaving a human-shaped dent. The marionette doll dressed as a researcher sticks to the wall as if glued there, limbs hanging limp, like a mosquito slapped flat. The laboratory walls let out a groan under the strain. Chiloveig jumps to her feet, dramatically cupping her cheeks. Her eyes widen with excitement as she hops over to the deformed marionette doll, tilting her head to admire the artwork. Igla calmly smooths her sleeve. Her voice is velvet soft, but her gaze is glacial. Chiloveig clasps her hands behind her back and circles Igla like a curious little girl, thinking aloud with exaggerated flair. She suddenly stops and hops onto the lab workbench, her legs swinging cheerfully in the air.
だからイグラあんたを呼んだわけ。あのジジイと違って頭いいからね。あいつになり代わって管理局からジラードグループをオルフェルーネと協力関係守ってほしいんだ。楽園計画明日からなんでしょ。あの子が10年もの間積み上げてきたものが壊されるのを見たくないでしょ。
Igla makes no response. She walks forward slowly. She stops in front of Chiloveig, inclines slightly, and gently places one hand on the surface of the workbench. The moment her hand makes contact, the surface lets out a faint groan, then collapses. The entire workbench splits apart as if ripped by an invisible force. Documents, instruments, and coffee cups spilling onto the floor in a chaotic avalanche. Yet Igla herself remains utterly still, without so much as a wrinkle on her clothes.
この愚かで物質的な提案を飲む唯一の理由がお嬢様のためだということをお忘れなく。彼女を傷つけようものなら、あなたであろうとオレク様であろうと関係ありません。あのさ、もうちょっと頭を使ってよ、イグラちゃん。
Chiloveig nimbly hops off the shattered workbench, clapping her hands together as a manic grin spreads across her face.
私がオルフェルーネを傷つけるわけないじゃん。オレクと管理局の密約をわざわざ教えてあげたんだよ。
Chiloveig leans close to Igla, her lips almost brushing Igla's ear.
あのジジイが守りたいのは自分だけ。お嬢様なんか最初からどうでもいい人なんだよ。
Igla tilts her head slightly and stares at Chiloveig without expression. In the next instant, with the movement too fast to see, she grips Chiloveig by the throat and lifts her into the air.
言われるまでもありません。
Igla's voice is ice cold. Her usual air of elegance has vanished entirely by now.
たとえオレク様にお嬢様を裏切る意志がなくとも、お嬢様をお守りするのは私です。そうだよね。
Chiloveig smacks Igla's wrist in surrender. When Igla releases her, she drops to the floor.
だから一緒に楽園計画を完遂させることがジラードが返り咲く唯一のチャンスってわけ。オルフェルーネは頭が良くて勤勉で夢が大きいし、何より超可愛い。だからこそあの子は計画に必要不可欠なんだよ。あんたが何百回私を殺したってそれは変わらない。それにもともとこれはあの子の研究だしね。どうあがいても無関係ではいられない。計画のためにも私があの子を傷つけるわけない。理解した？計画の成就はお嬢様の宿願です。それについて反論するつもりはありません。ただお嬢様は純粋な科学者であられます。彼女の研究はあなた方の道具ではありません。
Perhaps swayed by Chiloveig's words, Igla's hostility eases slightly, but when it comes to Orpelune, she yields not an inch. Chiloveig rubs her throat. Rising onto her toes, she peers up at Igla with an ominous gleam in her eyes.
そうだね。私なんかと違ってオルフェルーネはいい子だから。でも考えたことある？楽園計画が実現すれば、ジラードは新たな高みに到達して、オルフェルーネも世界から注目される。そうなったら、あの子の体に隠された秘密も知られちゃうかもね。
Igla's gaze turns icy once more at those words. Her posture remains flawless. Only the tension in her jaw betrays the slightest ripple of emotion.
その無礼な発言の趣旨がわかりません。はっきり言われたらいかがですか。
私は事実を言っただけ。真相は隠されるから面白いんだよ。
Chiloveig prances right up to Igla, looking up at this most powerful third-gen doll with a smile both innocent and dangerous.
この世にバレない秘密なんてない。パラデウスの知ってることは他の誰かにもいずれ知られる。気をつけてね。
それは脅迫と捉えてもよろしいですか。
Igla's voice remains courteous but her tone is chilling. Even the air in the laboratory seems to freeze under her words.
脅迫？そんなことしないって。
Chiloveig waves her hands exaggeratedly. It suddenly grows somber. She presses her fingers lightly against her lips, her eyes flashing sharply.
これはただの忠告。私は楽園計画がうまくいけばそれでいいし、あんたはジラードグループを立て直せる。オルフェルーネは生涯を。まあ、あの子の年でそういうのは早いけど、生涯を費やした夢が叶う。みんなウィンウィンのハッピーエンド。その後起こることに目をつむればね。
Igla takes a slow, deep breath.
それについて対策は。あなたの目的は何ですか。
まあ大前提として楽園計画を完遂すること。あの子を守るためとか言って計画を中断するのは言語道断。今言ったリスクを回避する方法は簡単。あの子にスポットライトを当てなきゃいい。あとは O43 をできるだけ早く連れてきてくれたら、私一人だけで楽園計画を進められるかもよ。
She flashes a radiant smile again, a shrewd glint dancing in her eyes.
そうすればお嬢様を危険なことに関わらせなくても済むじゃん。同じ科学者としてそんなことをするのは両親が痛むけど。
She shrugs dramatically and spreads her hands.
協力相手の気持ちの方が大事だからね。
そんなことをしてあなたに何のメリットがあるというのですか。
あんたとの友情。それに 秘密を知る人間は少ない方がいい。
Chiloveig winks playfully.
でもそれもあんたの鬼ごっこの腕次第だけどね。
She sends the ball back to Igla's court and looks at her expectantly, waiting for an answer. Igla's gaze flickers. In the end, she says nothing. Her eyes turn toward Alba inside the specialized hibernation capsule. Through the observation window, Alba can be seen breathing in agony within a hallucination. Igla knows Chiloveig is right. No matter what, capturing Boy Mastina, retrieving O43, and completing the missions she was given from the start remain her top priority. As for Chiloveig, there will be time to settle the score later. The hibernation capsule's indicator lights flash incessantly, alarms echoing as Alba's neural data register extreme instability.
反逆の干渉がなければ簡単なはずでした。
Igla gently rests her hand on the capsule's control panel and connects her own port to it. A moment later, she turns back to Chiloveig and inclines her head slightly.
O43 は連れ戻します。その代わり一つだけ条件があります。必ず約束をお守りください。
Inside the capsule, Alba's body convulses violently, as if enduring unimaginable pain. Pain that intensifies further due to Igla's connection. Igla smooths the hem of her suit and walks toward the exit, her footsteps still calm and measured.
おやおや。
Chiloveig watches Igla's receding back, then turns to Alba reading in the capsule, her expression peculiar.
悪く思わないでね。本当はもっと優しくしてあげたかったんだから。
She sighs, then beams brightly again. Hopping back to her seat, she picks up a fresh cup of coffee and gazes at the hibernation capsule as though watching a performance.
どうせ死ぬ運命なんだし、せいぜいデータを貢献してよ、アルバちゃん。